Everything you do only says you gotta figure it out.
Hey, what's up guys, George Lyons here. Welcome back to the Soccernomics YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about Turkish football. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the Turkish Superlig and whether it is in fact doomed. What I mean by this is, well, it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. I didn't realize, I knew it was quite bad. We always hear about the Turkish football crisis, if you guys follow like Tifo football or anything like that, but doing a bit of research onto this, especially updated to the present day, it's pretty bad. It's pretty worrying, actually, if you follow Turkish football at all, or obviously you would be aware of the big three, your Galatasarays, your Fenerbahces, your Besiktas, who always compete in European football. Huge history, huge followings as well, and yeah, it's not looking good for them. I'll explain why in today's video. But before I do, guys, just got to let you know to hit that subscribe button if you are new. If you like football finance, football economics, that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the channel for you. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, and yeah, hope you enjoy today's video, and let's get into it. You don't need me to tell you that Turkish football is something special. They've got some amazing fans, incredible atmospheres at the games, and some of the biggest clubs in football. Yet, despite all of that, the Turkish Superlig was only formed in 1959, the first professional football league in Turkey. Now, since that time, only 6 teams have actually only ever won the Turkish Super League. The most recent of those 6 being Istanbul Başakşehir, who won their first title in the 1920 season. Then the most recent team was Bursaspor in the 09-10 season, which was their only title as well, meaning that only 4 teams have won the title on more than one occasion. This has been dominated by the big 3, that is Galatasaray, Fenerbahce and Istanbul, who have got, 90% of the titles in the Super League history. Like, it's a lot. Galatasaray with 22, Fenerbahce with 19, and Besiktas with 16. Meaning that the only other team, Trabzonspor, have got 6 titles. They were the first original contenders of the big 3, and were the first team to take the title out of the capital of Istanbul. But why am I talking about this? Well, pretty much what I'm trying to show you here is that Turkish football, if a big 3 team hasn't won it, they're always in and around that. But this season is something different, I'll tell you what. At the time of filming, Trabzonspor are in fact at the top of the Super League, 11 points clear of second place, looking very well on track to win their first title since 1984, with only 1 loss in 25 games. So very impressive there. I can put that down to their shrewd business that they did this season. So they signed in the summer Andreas Cornelius, the Danish striker, for just over €5 million from Parma. He's already scored 11 goals this season. Also, they signed veteran midfielder Marek Hamšík on a free transfer, which has been instrumental to their success as well. And even in the January transfer window, they strengthened as well, signing Edin Vişça, the winger from Istanbul Başakşehir, for just over €4 million, and he's already scored 4 goals this season. So yeah, he's doing really well for Trabzonspor. Everything seems to be going perfectly for them. And it's really exciting because this will be the first time that the title will be leaving the capital since 2010, and only the second time in 38 years. But not only are the big 3 not looking likely to win the league this season, they're not even looking likely to get European football, never mind the Champions League. And I don't think this has ever happened before. So let me explain what is going on here. So at the time of filming, Fenerbahce are sitting in 6th place, just off of 4th by goal difference. Besiktas are in 8th place, and Galatasaray, who are the most successful club in Turkey, are sitting in 14th place, behind 4 teams that Google doesn't even recognize. So what's actually happening here? Are the Turkish teams just improving, or are the big 3 regressing? Well, as I mentioned before, Trabzonspor appear to have done pretty good business this season. They've rightfully been at the top of the league because they have scored the most goals and they've conceded the least, but that could change at the end of the season. In second place is Konyaspor. I don't really know too much about this team, but they do have the joint best defensive record so far this season, so that would explain why they're sitting so far up the table. In third place is Istanbul Başakşehir, who again are one of the most recent rivals to the big 3. They are pretty different to the rest of the teams in Turkey because they are actually privately owned. They became privately owned in 2014. Most of the ownership models in Turkey are through like a member association where a president is elected every single season or every other season by the fans. And in fourth place at the moment is Adana Demirspor. Now, you may recognize Adana Demirspor. That is because they are the home of Mario Balotelli, the notorious Italian striker. But they also have some other players as well that you may recognize. They have Britta Sambalonga for those EFL fans. Yeah, he's over there in Turkey applying his trade now. There is also Yunus Belhanda, a bit of a throwback player, same as Gökhan Inler, and Benjamin Stambouli as well. So yes, I guess there has been a lot of investment, but nothing really out of the the ordinary in the Turkish Superlig, which has always seen a lot of investment, especially government intervention, due to the fact that it's so popular in Turkey and it can be quite useful on a political front. But the Turkish Super League has always been quite competitive, albeit a oligopoly. Oh, by the way, so an oligopoly is sort of like a monopoly, except it's a market dominated by maybe like 2 or 3 pies. So I've talked about the other teams, but what about the big 3? Have they experienced a decline? Well, let's think about the squads that these types of clubs have had in the past, because I mean, there's some absolutely insane squads. Let's think about Galatasaray, for example. Their UEFA Cup winning side in 2000. They had the likes of Jorge Hagi, Emre Bizoglu, Hakan Sakur. Even their 2012-13 squad, I think that was the right season, but they had the players such as Didier Drogba, Wesley Sneijder, Alex Telles, Felipe Melo. Like, it was an insane squad. I don't know how they didn't get further in the Champions League. I think they got knocked out by Chelsea. But insane squads. Nothing like what they've got at the moment. Then there's Fenerbahce, who had a pretty strong squad in the late 2000s. They had players such as Diego Lugano, Nicolas Anelka at one point. They even had Roberto Carlos. Alex as well is a bit of a club legend over there too. So yeah, they had some pretty great players back then, but even more recently as well. I mean, they've currently got Mesut Ozil, but they had players like Robin van Persie, Dirk Kuyt as well in their ranks. So some pretty decent players quite consistently for Fenerbahce. And finally, there's Besiktas, who've had some of the best players in more recent times as well. You think of the likes of Demba Ba, Ricardo Quaresma, Talisca, Cenk Tosun, and even now the likes of Karl Larin, Miralem Pjanic. Who else? You got Alex Teixeira, Georges Kevin Nkudu, and these sort of players helped them see the title last season. But I think we can all agree there has been a bit of a drop in the quality of players that the big 3 have been attracting in more recent times. But the question is why? Well, me being me, I did obviously a bit of research and I came across some pretty interesting things, some things that I knew were going on in Turkey, but I didn't really realize just how much it affected Turkish football. I'll talk about the macroeconomic stuff first because they appear to affect the more microeconomic stuff that are really affecting Turkish football. So let's talk about that. So Turkey as an economy. I don't know if you follow economic news at all, or even if you take an interest in Forex trading, but if you do, you probably know what I'm about to say. So if we have a look here, this is the Turkish Lira, the currency of Turkey, and it's currently sitting around 13.6 Lira to the $1. However, when their president Recep Erdogan came into power in 2014, the exchange rate was closer to 2 liras to the $. That's a 680% change in depreciation. Now, you don't need me to be an expert and you to be an expert to understand that that is really, really bad. But things got really bad during the COVID period, as you can see here. Things got seriously bad during and after COVID. Since the start of 2020, the lira has depreciated around 230% against the US dollar. So why is this the case? Well, the biggest reason why the Turkish lira is probably one of the worst performing currencies in recent times, if not ever, is mainly down to the fact that the continuation of the lowering of interest rates by the Turkish Central Bank. Now, lowering interest rates is not a bad thing. Usually, central banks lower interest rates in time of economic slowdown when inflation is low, in a way to try and make borrowing money less expensive so that people spend more money and help boost the economy. However, in the case of Turkey and, well, pretty much every other country during COVID, their inflation rates are far from low as their central banks are trying to stimulate their economies. Where most countries at the moment are now starting to increase interest rates to try and tackle rising inflation rates as there's too much money in circulation and that is depreciating the value of their currency, Turkey, for some reason, are continually lowering their interest rates. Now, the president of Turkey, President Erdogan, has a pretty creative but unanimously unpopular idea or opinion, I guess, about interest rates. Rather than raising interest rates to try and slow down spending in the economy, which will then slow down raising inflation rates, he believes that by further lowering interest rates, that will encourage investment into the Turkish economy, and that will therefore increase investment, and that will increase the standard of living in Turkey, and therefore will tackle inflation that way. Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense, does it? And I mean, in a way, he is right, because Turkey's economy is experiencing growth at the moment, mainly because exporting costs are so low at the moment, because the Turkish lira has absolutely plummeted. But that would normally suggest that the standard of living is increasing in Turkey, but the fact that inflation is soaring, that is not the case. So not only is inflation increasing, but the value of the lira is plummeting, making imports more and more expensive. And this is where it becomes relevant to the Turkish Super League, because Turkish clubs use the Turkish lira to pay for loans, player transfer fees and player wages. It is becoming increasingly more expensive for Turkish clubs to buy players from outside of Turkey. It's becoming more expensive to also pay for their wages as well, which is obviously discouraging Turkish clubs from bringing in anyone outside of the country. And I'm not too sure which currency players in the Turkish Superlig get paid in, but if it is Turkish Lira, that means that their contracts are depreciating in value every single day and has depreciated so much over the past few years, which obviously would encourage them to try and renegotiate their contracts, or if they can't do that, then they probably have to search to leave Turkey in search of a more stable currency and a more stable wage. Unfortunately, things don't really get better for the big three in Turkey, and I would actually go as far as to say that Trabzonspor are included in that as well. Turkish football have constantly been trying to keep up and compete with Europe's elite, and in order to finance that, they have always taken out loans to be able to buy players. In doing so, not only have some of these clubs actually broken financial fair play rules in recent times, getting sanctions such as not being able to compete in European competitions, but the biggest problem is the fact that they experienced a big loss of revenue in recent times due to the COVID pandemic, but also the crippling foreign exchange rates have really had an effect on these big four clubs, because not only have they been unable to pay off their loans, but their debts have actually increased as well. And yeah, it's not looking good, I'll tell you what. So I did a bit of research, and it is looking like the combined amount that Galatasaray, Besiktas, Fenerbahce and Trabzonspor owe as a combined amount is about $2 billion. $2 billion. How the hell does that happen? Because yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to pay that back. There's no way they're going to be able to pay that back with their current cash flows. They're going to have to try and raise capital somehow. If you have a look here, there are a lot of plans in Turkey to try and restructure the debts of these football clubs, because there is a huge football crisis in Turkey. It's not just the big four that are under threat. There's a lot of clubs in Turkey that have dissolved in recent years, and it's just an absolute mess, man. Absolute mess. So yeah, I guess this makes sense why we're not seeing the same caliber of players come to Turkey, especially the big three. I guess this also makes sense why the big three are finding it hard to compete domestically, never mind in Europe. So what are the knock-on effects from this? Well, if you have a look over here, this is the UEFA country coefficients. Now, you may remember I made a video on these a few months back. You can go ahead and watch that one if you want to get your head around what they are and how they work. But for now, what I'm going to do is give you a quick crash course. So basically, this is a points-based ranking system for European countries and their respective top tiers. Countries gain points based on club performances in European competitions. So that is the UEFA Champions League, the Europa League, and now the Conference League. The further the clubs go in the competitions, the more points you earn. The cumulative points from these countries' participants are then divided by the number of clubs representing them that year. And then this number, along with the previous 4 seasons' numbers, are added up, and this is your final coefficient. The higher this number, the higher you rank. The rankings affect the number of entrants the country gets into Champions League, Europa League, and the Conference League, and whether they are actually automatic qualifications or whether they are through qualifying rounds. Countries ranked 1 to 4 have 4 entries to the Champions League, with all 4 being automatic qualifications. Countries ranked 5th to 6th have 3 entries to the Champions League, with 2 automatic qualifications and 1 through the qualifiers. And 7th to 15th all have 2 entries to the Champions League, but only 7th to 10th have 1 automatic position. The rest have to qualify through the qualifying rounds. Turkish clubs always seem to have a pretty major presence in European competitions, and that always was reflected in the rankings in the coefficients. In the 2012-13 season, Turkey were ranked 10th, meaning that they had 2 entries to the Champions League and 1 entry to the Europa League, with 1 automatic entry to the Champions League. In the 18-19 season, things didn't really change. They still had a 10th place finish, but in the 1920 season, this is when things started to change. So they actually went down to 11th, where they no longer had an automatic Champions League qualification spot, so they both had to go through the qualifying rounds. In the 2021 season, they actually fell down to 13th place, but the most significant one is the one that's going to be happening this season. So currently, in the 21-22 season, currently, Turkey are ranked 20th in the coefficients, which will mean that next season they will only have 1 entry to the Champions League and no entries to the Europa League. So as the Super League stands at the moment, only Trabzonspor would actually qualify for the Champions League, albeit through the qualifying rounds, and that explains why Fenerbahce, Besiktas and Galatasaray are nowhere near actually qualifying for European spots this season. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So yeah, that's a massive fall in rankings in a very quick succession, but that, I mean, paints a picture of the lack of success that Turkish clubs are having in European competitions, and that explains the decline of the big three. So then I just go back to the original question: is Turkish football doomed? And it's hard to try and say that they're not, because there's so many things at stake here. If the big four can't satisfy their debts, their huge debts, then obviously they'll get liquidated. I can't see how they could survive it, but let's see if the restructuring process can help them out in some sort of way, be able to pay those off eventually. If President Erdogan doesn't come to his senses and changes his mind about interest rates, surely seeing how the Turkish lira is plummeting in value so much and how inflation rates are skyrocketing, I think it's something ridiculous. Like dairy products in Turkey have gone up like 38% in a month. What? Something stupid like that is going on in Turkey, and obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect in the football, because eventually fans aren't going to be able to afford to go to games. Turkish football clubs are not going to be able to pay their wages or player wages if they are in lira. No one's going to sign on for another contract unless they can double, triple, quadruple what they're already on, and that's just not going to be possible for a club who's already in so much debt. So my answer is, I don't know, but it's not looking good. But I hope you enjoyed today's episode, guys. I really put a lot of time and effort into it. I really hope you learned something from it. If you didn't really understand anything that I said there, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to try and explain it further. But yeah, be sure to hit the subscribe button for us, guys. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. If you can help us get there, that'd be massive before the end of the month. Yeah, if you like football finance, football economics, that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the channel for you. I'll be making more content like this one. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you very soon.
Go down and hope it comes back around, 'cause I still just feel like I'm gonna keep running in circles till we find out all we need is each other, space between